From selling mattresses and alarms to building and owning his very own artificial intelligence company, today's guest is an entrepreneur, systems architect, and high ticket closer turned AI weaponizer. On this episode, we'll dive into the future of AI within the sales industry, the dogma that surrounds sales reps, and a new age of culture, leadership, and execution. Brandon Harris, welcome to the Deal Room.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
I think where I really want to start out, I really want to get into how you got involved with sales and then also transitioning to the AI space.
Yeah. So sales, I've been in the sales space for 12 years. I started with alarm sales. I went way back to mattress sales. I sold mattresses for like 2 weeks and I hated it. So I went and did blue collar for a while, and then I was approached by the door-to-door guys. And here in Utah, it was like a viral activity. Like if you're interested in sales at all, you had to go knock doors for Vivint, which is an alarm company. So I did that for a summer, started off great, ended up being really rough. And then I got out of sales again. But sales always has a way of pulling us back in. So eventually, I took multiple sales roles and landed on just a small medical device company. And that was great. I managed that. I jumped in and managed a super tiny team, had no idea what I was doing, but I was really confident and did my best, right? That led to probably the biggest transition in my sales career, which was working at Bamboo HR as an account executive and then eventually senior account executive. Getting into that space, I can go into more detail later, but got in the tech role, skipped the SDR and setting role, right into closing, and then spent three years there. And then from that, I transitioned into a small startup tech company. And then that finally leveraged me to jump into the high ticket remote sales space, which I've been in now for about 4 years.
It's really cool to see the evolution of everyone's journey, especially in sales, because even myself, I started in hospitality and then transitioning through different avenues of sales. But you're absolutely right. It always ends up pulling us back. It's because it's different. It's exciting. You get to pave your own way and you're not stuck with the traditional 9 to 5 that everybody else tends to fall into and the traditionally works nowadays. And it's very hard to escape that also. So sales is different. It's exciting. You get to pretty much have unlimited source of, I'll say, income that you could make. It's truly on you and you can pave your own way. And there's so many different directions you can go in sales, like even from mattresses to corporate and now to having your own AI agency, even myself from hospitality to real estate to high ticket sales to my own company. It's like we all have our own evolutions and it's real and exciting to see how we evolve in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Now, sales is enticing for a few reasons. I think one is that level of control because you're responsible for your own income, right? If you don't perform, you starve, and it's motivating in its own right. But if you can learn the positive motivation behind that, it's really powerful. And if you learn how flexible you can really be, I think just starting out, I didn't know what level of flexibility and power I had in sales. And now today I realize how lean you can run a sales role and still make a massive amount of money, which led me to the whole sales dogma route of wow, there's a lot of bullshit that doesn't matter that we worry about all the time or companies worry about all the time. But sales is very fun that way. It's also quick dopamine hits. Like when I get a close, I have ADHD and I just embrace it, right? And it's helped me build a lot of cool things. But when I get that win, it's massive amount of fuel. But I have to manage myself because if I go too long without getting the win, then I get bored and want to move away. So you learn to leverage and manage some of that stuff, but sales is great. You can leverage it in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. It is that own sense of a dopamine hit because you're doing something which is creating a result and that just kind of fuels your own fire. But I agree in the same way. You are responsible for your own income. And when you go for periods of time where things are not lining up, you end up in this rabbit hole of, I need this to close. I need this to close. And then kind of leading into where I want to lead the conversation of the dogma of sales. You end up arguing with prospects because your intention is so much on, no, I need the sale because I need the cash versus does this person actually need help? That just turns into the corruption of how sales reps turn greedy and their intentions behind the calls start to lose authenticity and you stop being genuine. And then you end up just, again, down another rabbit hole and into the dark side of sales, if is the best way I can describe it.
No, you're absolutely right. And that dark side of sales is just lying to avoid the patterns of issues rather than addressing the patterns, right? And you're 100% right. Like that, there is a dark side to sales, and I've been there, and it doesn't feel great, and you don't want to be there because it doesn't last. And just like any form of lying, it doesn't. Whether you're lying about how you're living your life or lying directly to a person, you can never get away with that long term. either those problems stack up or you're discovered or it stops working and then now your reputation and income is jeopardized. So
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something like that speaks to me extremely well because I've seen more negative than I would like to say positive in my experience with sales, just aligning myself with the wrong people that I thought would push me in the right direction, but ended up taking everything that I had and using it against me or using it for their own benefit, which just tends to happen in the world that we live in, unfortunately. But like when the person that you are hoping to learn from or lead you is either belittling or speaking down and only caring about their pocket and using the reps at their own like not caring about the reps that they're putting forth to actually lead the front lines. We're not disposable. We're actual people. We have lives. And same with the customers. They have lives. They have goals and ambitions. And just making a sale needs to go beyond what is going to be put in your pocket. And when you be greedy and the dopamine hits. Like I've seen founders that I've worked with go from $10,000 a month to $100,000 a month in less than 90 days. And like that sparked a different level of greed for this business that I didn't expect. And that's how people change. And that's how, unfortunately, a lot of businesses fail in the end too, because if that's the only thing fueling the business, that'll come to the surface eventually.
yeah, 100%. I mean, you just start to skip necessary components of the offer. And look, your salespeople, like I see massive amount of mistreatment. I mean, not really anymore because I've aligned myself with amazing leaders and people and organizations, but there is a huge mistreatment of salespeople, especially at like the lower levels, like a setter or an SDR, massive amounts of mistreatment and like entitlement on the business side when you have a human being. And this is especially the case for sales managers who I plan to get rid of this year, but sales managers who all of their income is based on what they can manage. And it's all these other people. So if they're not producing, they're less valuable. Now, for a business, that is true, but we're not just a business. We're human beings. And I see some of the worst sales cultures I see are the manager just trying to make the business's outcomes the people's outcomes. And that's just not the case. Like, oh, I want this all to happen because it makes me all kinds of money. But why do the individuals want success? And if that's ignored, you just don't have a cohesive unit. And it's a lot harder anyway to get someone to align with your end goal if you don't care about theirs.
Yeah, I think that's a big fundamental thing that is overlooked in most times. And I know we spoke about this the other day, but a lot of founders will always say, well, how do I get my reps or my employees to be sold on my vision? There's a difference because if it was something that was revolutionary in actually trying to make a difference versus your end goal is just to get rich and drive a Lamborghini, that isn't always going to align with the person that you're bringing on. Every rep is also going to have goals and ambitions to want to either be successful, obviously we all want to do well and make money, but we want to have good and positive intentions behind that. And that's overlooked. Not many people actually care about, oh, what am I looking to get out of this opportunity? I didn't get into sales so that somebody else can make a lot of money. I didn't get into sales so that somebody else could put down people and customers. That's not why I'm in sales. So like that's something that's extremely overlooked at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And I've worked with being in sales for so long, you work with all kinds of really difficult people, whether they're clients or managers. And I believe there's a level of like, dude, this client was the worst, right? Like there's a level of that's totally true because some people are just awful to work with. But it's a double-edged sword because in this conversation right now, we have the manager who has their own individual goals and outcomes. And then we talked about it like, well, if they don't understand the sales reps' individual goals and outcomes. But the same works for the client. Like if someone were to ask me, was like, well, how do I get my people to care about this the way I do? Which one, you just have to accept they won't. They'll care about it differently, but it's not the same way. But on the other side, the one component that makes all of this work that we haven't discussed yet is the customer. How do we align with the customer on that front? And this is where sales reps get really combative because they have their goal and the manager has their goal or the founder has their goal. And sure, the customer has a goal, but we overlook it. But you'll notice, I noticed my closing and my conversations got a lot more fulfilling even when they didn't move forward, when I aligned with what the customer wants. I may not love the product. Like I don't love the idea of automatic Forex trading with a bot, right? Not a passion of mine. But the individuals that come in are investors who want to diversify. And if I can make my goal what they want to have happen, it's a lot easier to align because now there's a product and offer fit for this customer. So if the customer wants to have a passive level of income so that they can buy real estate every year, cool, that's what we're doing. And that's my goal. It's like, look, I'm here to fulfill what the customer needs. And I know what we can and can't do. And I'm not going to waste time with someone who can't get the outcome they want with us. And there's a lot of power in that because you can detach yourself from the outcome of the sale and attach yourself to the outcome of the customer. Like, what do they want to have happen, and how does my offer or product get them there? That's a way funner way to look at a conversation than I just need to get money. I need to get money. Oh, no problem.
I 100% agree with you, because most of the time, the goal of the customer is very much overlooked. Even just the fulfillment side alone is very much overlooked, because a lot of businesses are so worried about the front end of, how do I get in more leads? Let's just get the sale and then that's it. And I've seen that firsthand. When you have no fulfillment, you lose continuity, you lose LTV of your client, then you start increasing churn, you start having people that are unhappy, refunds start going through the roof, and it just comes down to, okay, where are you putting your priority? Does the founder actually care of the outcome of the client as well? And that also comes down to, who do you actually care about serving and crafting your offer? The whole point of sales is to bridge the gap for a client. The client is here,
Right.
and they want to get to here, but instead of spending X amount of time and X amount of dollars getting there, let's reduce that, shrink that, whatever we can to help them get there faster. The whole point of what an offer is the ability to help the people that we want to serve, rather than just take everybody under the sun just so we can make a quick buck.
Yeah, it's exactly it. I mean, that just cheapens your offer. Like, if you're taking everybody, no matter what, like I've been on those offers, and the deliverables have to be in line. And that's with high ticket sales, it's a little bit more nuanced because at a business, they have a set structure and you're just a cog in the wheel or a cog in the system. And that's okay. Like, a lot of people like being the cog. That can work out very well for a lot of sales professionals. So I wouldn't ever dog on that. I got a lot of buddies in that space. My brother, even at a major software company, doing great. For high ticket, it's just a bit more my run. Like, I want a little bit more freedom. I definitely don't want to worry about HR because I go off the rails sometimes and have fun. But it is important to make sure that you're aligned with what the founder is delivering on, and you're giving that feedback actively. Like, so I manage the fitness vertical at an agency, and I can technically bring on anybody I self source. But it's been exciting and challenging to bring that to clients. Like, I came into one wellness offer, tons of volume in the DMs, and they were using an AI setter that wasn't doing a great job prepping for the call. It was just booking the appointment. So it did that really well. But then we'd have 11 appointments on the calendar, half would show up, and the other 5 or 6 that did show up had no idea what we were going to talk about. They had no idea they were talking to me, and they had no idea on price range. So we'd get to that point after a 45-minute call, and they're like, "What?" And you're like, "Oh gosh, you would have never been able to afford this. We should have had our setter downsell you into the low ticket offer." So I came in and we just trimmed all this fat and I just lobbed it off. Like, we're doing an intake form with all these qualifiers, and our 11 appointments a day dropped down to 1 or 2, like if we were lucky. I was like, okay, so now we have the real problem. Now that we've gotten lean, I now see what we can do to take in these higher qualified clients. Like, now I'm building out an agent to manage his email list because it's pretty good. He uses a GPT to kind of help line it up, but there's no call to action or really no emotional gap building, and we can dial that in a little bit better to get some low hanging fruit from his email list. Also, generating more content around what he actually does for clients, because there's a lot of informative content. He does a very good job, is extremely well educated, but there's not a lot of, when you work with me, X happens, right? Or X person worked with me and this was their outcome. More of that, and I think we start generating a lot of value and high quality appointments very often, because that's what's worked everywhere else. So if you're not in a position where you can control what people say or do, then you just got to lock in and do what you can, right?
Exactly.
But the fastest way to get a raise in any workforce, especially sales, is to move companies. So if you hit some roadblocks enough times, don't hesitate, man. Go find another gig.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better sometimes to jump ship than go down with it when it's sinking. I've done it myself. I've jumped back and forth between offers. Some I've stayed on longer than I definitely should have, and I've met plenty of reps that have to just go on to the next one because it's either there's something wrong internally that is not being fixed, or their concerns are not being acknowledged, or they're not producing their own revenue for the sake of, or like, I guess not their skill set, but for the sake of either the offer, what's happening throughout the process, whether that's on the front end, back end, etc. So I think you're better off just, hey, jump the ship, then go down with it and find where your calling is. Because again, there's a million offers across the market, especially now that sales and high ticket sales is becoming more and more popular. Obviously, sales has been around forever, but now because of info products and selling education and so on and so forth, it's becoming very, very popular. So there's endless opportunities.
100%. And learning, like, on the psychological side, because I've spent years and years in therapy. Like, I came from kind of an abusive background, and just like in the last 5 or 6 years have have learned what's going on in here to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with all the noise in my head. And it's been incredible. And it's led to a transformation of who I am today. And this is the guy I've always wanted to be. And I never thought I'd get here until recently. But understanding what's going on internally, you need to set boundaries, right? Like if you're in a conversation or in a relationship and you're not comfortable with where it is, most people don't know how to say, I already know I can't go here because of whatever reason, right? It's the same with your work. I mean, for me, a boundary is I'm at a point now where if I don't make $1,000 on a deal for commission, I don't take the call and I don't put that on my calendar. So that's part of the vetting process. Because with the agency now, I mean, these build outs can cost anywhere from $5,000 to 20K plus. Like that's a good amount of time I'll spend on building those automations out and agents. But with the closing side, I'm like, okay, I've now got to set a boundary where if I'm not making 1,000 or 2,000 on commission per call, the calendar space is better spent somewhere else. And it's the same with any offer. Like you should only let this go on for so long. Otherwise, like you're sacrificing months of income if changes aren't being made. And learning to do that is a huge skill. It's challenging, but
I think kind of that's also the evolution of the actual rep itself at the end of the day too. Like eventually a closer can only get so good and can only make so much in income per month until it either gets old, it gets boring, and then they get to that realization of, okay, well, I'm only getting 10, 20, whatever percent. Why not get 100% for myself? And then the best reps leave.
right.
And then when you look at the founder and the offer side, well, you're only as good as your best rep, depending on how you structure your company. And to kind of lead into my next point, and we discussed this yesterday, for myself, I take a very different approach when I come in to manage an offer, because your business should not be reliant on the skill set of one person, two persons, whatever the case may be. Because, okay, what happens if one or both leave? Okay, does that mean that everything else is sacrificed within the company? Does that mean that revenue is going to drop by 30, 40%? Because I've seen that. So when I take my approach, regardless of your skill set, I want to attack systems, processes, and structure first, because something that I have now been exposed to and learned, and I stand by this, is mediocre salespeople with prolific systems will outperform any day great salespeople with poor systems. And that's where I tend to lean in on my expertise, is like, okay, well, regardless of who's on the phone, if everything else is in alignment, we can cover drop-off points on the front end for leads and even on the back end, we can still have a very well-functioning system and produce even more revenue than having great salespeople and you're losing more and more leads every day because you're not plugging the correct holes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I really want to express to businesses. It's like you're limiting yourself by focusing solely on how your reps perform. And I think that's just where also the churn and burn of sales reps and them becoming quote unquote expendable to owners. Okay, well, they're not making me money. Can them? Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. And I had a good friend of mine, Cole Angel. He's the owner of the Serial Agency, and that's who I'm partnered with on their fitness stuff. But we're homies, and we kind of got into the high. He's the first high ticket professional I met when I got into the space. So I learned a ton from him, and we've learned a lot from each other. But there was a moment, it was great, where he was like, the revenue just dropped, and he's like, dude, what is going on? Like, can you get in here and listen to some calls and see where we're messing up? And I'm like, dude, I got to be honest, everybody's killing it. Like, all of our reps are solid. There's maybe a few little notes, but this is the high level of skill that we want. And the conversation went to, well, what could possibly be preventing us from getting the revenue then? And it was just preparation. Like, clients didn't have any information coming into the call. And now, like, verbatim, any offer that we take on, we have a pretty extensive qualification process. And this varies by offer, but to get the client really well informed about what we're doing. I mean, even if they follow the new account within a day or two, within that day or two, they can get enough context to know what we do, how we solve problems, and generally what it's going to cost. So that by the time they get in, they're like, look, I saw the overview. That was awesome. 2 minutes. I also looked at the deck. I saw your guys' prompts or whatever. Like, this looks great. I just have a few final questions, then we wrap it up. But that was it was an interesting way to look at it, because it is a systems game as much as it is a skill game, because high skill, bad systems, you're only going to get so far. And then if you don't have a feedback loop of any kind, then you're really screwed, because then you never know what's going on, and you only judge the end of the funnel, which is that sales rep, which is usually not all that's going on.
I think it really comes down to, where are you focusing your priority when it comes to scaling your business? We can only just spend days throwing things at the window hoping they stick. That's just not how you work sales. You have to be very intentional with what you're looking at and how you change things. And I agree with your point. When there's nothing on the front end to inform the prospect or the potential buyer of what they're walking into, your chances of closing are only reliant on the skill set of the rep, which comes back to my previous point of like, okay, well, then you're only as good as the skill set of the rep you're relying on, because you could have someone that's terrible on the back end in terms of the close. But if you've educated that prospect from opt-in to getting on the final closing call, they should be ready to buy. They've been like, an informed buyer is a buyer for life, in my opinion. And I've experienced this myself. One of my previous or most recent mentors that I invested in, I was very well educated going into a closing call with them. I had watched plenty of YouTube videos. I had watched plenty of webinars, and I've absorbed content from them and used it in my own businesses. And then I got on the closing call just for the sake of, hey, I had some questions, and I was already sold within 5 minutes of talking, and I sold myself. They didn't need to sell me. And that's coming from someone who works with offers directly. So if that's how it should be, the prospect should be able to make an informed decision themselves based on pre-education, whatever kind of value you want to provide up front, so that it's not a 2-hour long closing call of arguing and battling just to make the dollar at the end of the day.
Yeah, right. No, that's exactly. And I got in a gentle debate with a really good friend of mine, Jace. He owns he owns a pickleball court coding company, and they license out their model to other companies in the same space who want to take that on as either its own offer or a separate one. And we got into this where I was going through his workflows, and I'm like, dude, you got to give him a price range. He's like, we don't want to talk about pricing. And I was like, oh, why? So, well, we don't want to scare them off. It's like, if you have scared buyers, then one, they don't know enough about what they're buying before you tell them about price, or there's just not enough access to it. It's like, okay, well, I'm okay spending 30 grand, but what do I get? And if that doesn't line up, the market is telling you your product's not worth that much. But on the other side, you want them to know what is done. Look, the point I made was marketing and your pre-call workflow, whatever it is, should do 80% of the educating. Now, the
Agreed.
closing, that's the closer. But if you're paying a guy only high ticket or high ticket only commission, the fastest way to lose that rep is to waste their time, whether that's with an unqualified appointment or a client who they have to educate top to bottom. Now, there is a level of education that every rep should expect, but if they're like, yeah, the worst way to start a call that I've jumped into is when a client goes, all right, so yeah, I mean, what do y'all do? I go, I'll send you a 5-minute overview. Call me if you're interested. I end those every time, and maybe that's a hot take and a bad habit, but it's 45 minutes, and they say, okay, well, this is the first time I've looked into it, so I just opened up this today. Like, that's understandable. Of course, they're not going to want to do it right that second, but a lot do, and a lot of reps would say, well, don't you want to see where it goes? Yes and no. I mean, I've done this long enough where I can tell the retention rate on that is really, really low. Buyer's remorse is really fast really high if you close them fast on that first call without any information. And then you risk spending 2 hours where you could have been tracking down some other leads or outsourcing yourself, or, I mean, with AI, none of that's needed, but spending time on calls where you actually do make money. So there's a balance. But as a salesperson, you should try, I mean, in 2025, you're going to have to leverage yourself as an addition to the business, not just a cog in the wheel, like going in and adding your own value, which is, we'll get to that later, but it's why I'm building the AI solutions is it started with the high ticket rep space. Yeah, you got to be aligned with that, and marketing should do 80% of the educating before the call.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, we can go on just that topic alone for a whole episode. So
Yeah.
we can save that for another time. But I want to transition a little bit, because you touched on it, and giving the closer everything they need to not just be another cog in the wheel, but actually bring value to the offer. And you're building something for the actual rep themselves, treating them like a one-man army. And I want to get into that. So I would love for you to share your take on how AI, number one, how AI is really being involved in the sales industry now that we're in 2025 and things are rapidly evolving and changing. And then number two, how are you able to bridge that gap and really I'll say beef up a typical closer.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is really fun. Because I got into high tickets sales, and then I realized I couldn't just rely on one offer at all times, because I'm still relying on them for ad spend, for deliverables. Like if they get bad reviews on Trustpilot, that tanks, right? And since I'm 100% commission, I have to have those work. So I ended up going, okay, I'm going to have to take on maybe 2 or 3 offers maybe And just if they can put 3 to 5 appointments on my calendar a day, I'm a full calendar. So I started just doing this manually. I'm pretty good at CRMs and managing systems on my own, but it's still manual. And that was really challenging to balance 2 or 3 offers. And so I thought, how do I systemize this and automate as much as I can and trim this waste? Which led to this idea. And then I approached AI. I'm like, dude, I went to my buddy and I was like, I need a tool that just helps me show the ROI of this offer so I can at least help them get an estimate of their projections and stuff. And he said, dude, you just need to ask ChatGPT. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, well, no, dude, like have it build it with you. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, it will build you a software to use. I'm like, okay. So I jumped in and sure enough, I built this little app to show fitness coaches if they used our offer or this offer I was managing compared to just being a fitness coach on their own, the difference. And it was pretty incredible because they used real data and it did a ton of research. And within a month, now this would take me 2 weeks, but within a month or two, I got it really dialed and it was helping me close deals left and right. It was awesome because they came in with all this extra level of education. And I've also plugged this in now to another business I'm helping scale. But that's kind of where things kicked off. And as far as high ticket sales reps go, they run into a few major problems when they jump on an offer. One is just context and offer education. So they don't know as much about the product. They have to spend hours a day researching and go through a ramp up. We're all familiar with the sales ramp period of 3 months, right? 3 months to kind of introduce yourself, get used to everything, learn how to answer questions and so on. 3 months is a long time in a commission only role where you're just getting a little bit of information at a time and you only have so much time to study. Another challenge is accessing all the tools that you need. And because you're only making money on the call, managing the pre-qualification and the follow-up when deals push off. I don't love following up. I'm a 1 call close guy, 2 at the most, but I need some kind of commitment right there on the first call. So managing all of this as a solo closer who wants to balance 2 or 3 offers at a time is really difficult. So that's when finally the Stride Stack was invented. It's basically an agentic sales team. So instead of going to an offer and saying, hey, I have a 68% close rate, I'm a killer high ticket closer, that's really good. You'll probably get hired. But they still have to hire 2 SDRs, likely a VA to manage all the operations and CRM side for you, and someone who can manage all of the GHL or pipeline workflows that are going to enable you to close at that rate. So they're still having to hire 3 or 4 people for one guy to produce $1 million a year for them. So what if you could go into a business and say, hey, you don't need to hire anybody else. No manager, no ops guy, no VA, no setter. I can take care of it all. Just let me plug it into your software. So now not only are they able to reduce the payroll costs, which is huge, but now they can totally control the entire offer and charge more commission. Because if you're saving a company 30 grand a month in payroll, you can definitely go from a 10% commission to a 20 to 25% commission or less, right? But you can negotiate a lot higher pay and only spend time on what makes you money, which is the actual call itself. And the system is designed to do everything else for you. Now, this isn't fully done, but the first one launching is what everyone's really interested in that I talk to. It's called Dealgate. And that's like, whenever I talk to a setter, I say, hey, I'm getting rid of your job in 2025. That's my goal. Because I'm coming for your job. And I was like, well, you should be closing anyway. Like, we won't need setters. You should get right into closing. But it's essentially designed to reach out to all of your clients, reach out to all of your leads, qualify them financially, have conversations with them to qualify them for the call, answer questions, and then you get full context when you jump on the call with them. You know, what kind of client are they? Risk rank? Do they know how much it costs? Have they given pushback on that already? Etc. But yeah, it's just a sales enablement system to make you a one-man army when you jump into a business.
I mean, I think that's incredible to really hear. And I would be very curious to actually see how it's operated live. Cause I mean, being in sales, I've used a multitude of CRMs and systems for how lead flow is processed. And I have my own take on which ones I would prefer depending on the scale and size of a company. But for the sake of say I was taking on this as a closer, how would I be able to utilize it on my day to day in terms of where is my limitations, or where am I going to get the most gain? What systems can I use it with? Because is there limitations to what I can do?
Yeah, so I know that the end goal is where we want it to be, where it's an app and it runs agnostic of the IP's system. So if they prefer to use a certain CRM or whatever, they can totally. You just have to get some access. If they want to hire you, part of it's like, cool, I just need some access to get my information into your CRM, and then we're good to go. So the idea is once it's installed, we'll take a rep on, we'll onboard them with some of their information so that it connects to their Gmail account, their SendBlue account, their Twilio, whatever, right? And then we show them and can even onboard them to connect it to the offer IP. So really everything can run right in GHL or right in the CRM that someone's using. And there's not much else you have to do because it all runs on the back end. As long as it's connected, it's going to run and it's going to do its thing. And the rep is going to have very little they need to do other than that short onboarding process to get it plugged in. And then they can just refer to the app. So not going to be absolutely needed, but if they go to the app and want to fire off an update, right, they can go. One of the bots is going to use Perplexity to research specific niche updates that are happening live, and then it can automatically push out major updates upon the rep's approval or not, depending on how they want to set it up, to all of their hot leads. Like these are people I've talked to or maybe haven't talked to yet. And this new article came out about Forex trading and an advancement in this bot. Cool. Boom. Here, we're going to push this out. Hey, your accounts are fine. This is how our bot's reacting to it. And the rep didn't touch it, right? So yeah, as far as what a rep will have to do, it's very minimal. It's simply onboarding the offer, and the bot is designed and the agents are designed to run 100% on their own. Now you have your dashboard where you can look at what conversations are happening, and there's a confidence ratings in a conversation. It might be, if it's 90% confident or more that it can handle a question, it'll just take it. But for everything that it's not as confident with, it's going to put it in a repository for the rep to go into. They'll be notified, hey, not so confident with this, go check that out. And they can either provide context so that the agent can respond, or just go and respond to the lead themselves. But that way you're never missing anything. And that's for all cases of the pipeline, right? But yeah, as far as the ramping is concerned too, one thing, an easy one, and this is someone anyone can do today, and I have a guide on. I call it Brain Sync, but it's really just a custom GPT where you go into a business and you get all of their Q&As, all of their marketing documentation, all of their master classes, call recordings if they have them, course material, right? You just go copy it or download transcripts and get it all in a document or several documents. You have GPT summarize everything and remove redundancy. And then you build a custom GPT and you train it with all those documentations. And then you create a prompt and then you use that as your mastermind for the offer. I mean, you can onboard in 24 hours. That's the idea. No more ramping, no more 3-month ramp. You know just as much as the guy who was there for 6 years who just left, right? Right away. Instead of having to take 6 years to learn what he did, you now know it. And you can just ask questions live on the call and you're ready to rock and roll.
I think two sides of it. You're saving time and money on the rep side, just as much so as the business, because if you're saving 3 months of traditional ramping for a rep where they're not as educated immediately, where they're going to take time to actually get good at their job in this particular offer and understanding the offer, the talk tracks, the niche, and the questions, that way they can then properly execute and close with everything across the board. This is just merely a thought on my mind from using some different systems. Like I've played around with SendBlue a few times in some other systems. Like, would it make sense for this to work almost like an overlay, like kind of, because SendBlue is a Chrome extension, it overlays into the systems, whether that's GHL. We used SendBlue on Close. I know they have a direct integration with Spot, so I don't know if it would work as an overlay versus a separate app. That was more of just a thought in my mind for the simplicity of the user.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it totally could. I mean, if it's digital, right, you can game it to do all of that. And it's hard to say like that's happening because I know that can't happen until later in the year. And these products, these agents are going to roll out one by one. So Dealgate should be done by the end of June. And after that, it's going to be SpinUp or EchoFlow. But in the end, like it's all going to wrap up with your manager, which is Rogue. And ideally, yeah, like whether it's an overlay, a web app, a phone app, all of them, I'm cool with whatever. Ideally, yeah, it's going to have to grow. But we got to get to that point. So selling these tools as a one-off and kind of a bundled, you approach it package, that's how it's going to be for the first little while. And as we grow and develop, I mean, it could turn into a full-blown SaaS company like that I'd have to get someone else to help me run.
A big thing that I like to talk about is scaling companies. And for you, I can already picture the vision of this depending on how you wanted to lean in things. I very much see it as a SaaS. So I wanted to hear from you. Do you have a thought process or a vision for how you want to build this out big picture, whether that's from just attracting the reps or creating offers within that, building out continuity? We can get into like some really good stuff, but I kind of want to hear from you if you have a vision. Otherwise, like I can kind of spitball with you on some thoughts that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had to pull back a little bit on like the long-term vision of it, although I know where this is going. But anytime I make long-term plans, life shifts and things change. So I have an idea for the outcome and I know where I want it to go. So what I'm focusing on right now is launching my agency for either solopreneur or founder-based small to medium business AI solutions. Because I can go in, plug in these agents and automations, helps businesses out a ton. In tandem to that, I'm hunting and looking for salespeople who want to leverage AI themselves. And those are the guys and gals I'm looking for to help me scale the Stride stack and Stride systems in general. Because they may go in as high ticket closers and then go, hey, you know what? I make a lot. I could say, hey, you could make a lot more money with me consulting other businesses as their professional. You don't make 10% commission on people you're consulting. You're literally a part of my firm or my agency, and then you set your own prices. I just make a small cut, but now you're making 80% of a deal rather than and ongoing costs rather than just a one-time 10% commission, right? And there's others who are just wanting to be sales guys and gals who want to plug in these tools and just kill it at high ticket. Awesome. That can all happen. So as I build that community, because I'm going to leverage WAP pretty hard to get that community driven there with some low ticket and free product and meetings and you name it. But in the end, I'll have a group of people and I'll have a network that I can deploy or put into different parts of the business to do it. I mean, at that point, if the Stride stack really goes full SaaS, then I'm hiring. Hopefully by that point, OpenAI has their dev team. I just pay 10 grand a month and have them do everything.
That would be nice.
That's completely agentic. But really the idea is to keep it as lean as possible. I don't want to manage people. And case in point, I don't think we will be. In 5 years, I think teams are going to be extremely small, and you'll have businesses like mine who can pull in $1 million or $2 million a year completely on 2 or 3 people because I'll have AI agents doing the rest of it. Like this process of onboarding a rep, right? An agent, technically, I could build an agent to do that kind of stuff today. It's just not top of docket because I can't quite fit that into the schedule yet. But yeah, by the end of the year, I mean, agents are going to be able to do everything you would want in a process. It's just a matter of planning for that and getting ready for it because AI is changing so fast.
I think it's going to have a great impact, and I can see a great way to position this and the scale of it. I think it depends on, I guess, one of two things, but I know you don't want to really manage too many people. I guess that kind of can go in two ways. And hey, if you want to go in that direction and really present its own individual offer around it and try to scale that, I don't see any reason why that can't do more than $1 million or $2 million a year. I think there's plenty of salespeople that need two things. Number one, salespeople, there's always going to be new salespeople. So they're always going to need some sort of skill, and you already have a reputation in sales. So that's very, very easy to build on the front end. And if you're going to leverage WAP school, whatever the case may be, having your own low ticket for them to at least learn skill and then having opportunity for job placement within that. Those are two things that sales reps are looking for. And then on the third spoke of the wheel, where really I'll say like the continuity of an LTV increase of your target audience can really go up is, okay, well, we got you the skill, we got you the job. Now let's give you the AI that you need that's going to help you claim more money on your commission and is going to keep you in the best position possible. So now you have all three going for them at the same time, and it's actually benefiting them. Then that can be its own thing, and that can turn into high ticket, that can turn into plenty of other things. But even on just like a low ticket system, X amount to get in, whatever the case monthly for training. If you want job placement, it's cost X, whatever the case may be. If you want the A on top of it, it's X upfront or monthly, whatever the case may be. I think there's a lot of possibilities just on that side of things from a company standpoint.
Yeah. And for me, I know for sure, like the Stride stack, I've pretty much got that priced out and like how I want to present that. Even though it is going to take a few months for that all to roll out, I'll be able to sell one agent at a time. And my elite level guys and girls who are doing the full agentic stack, they're not paying a monthly fee to me. Like there's a usage cost that they'll have a really wide budget, but I want to offload the hosting fees onto people who are taking less of a commitment. And it's not to be mean or anything, but if you're hesitant to approach it, you may have a small monthly recurring fee because essentially you're committing to less. But my elite guys, the last thing I want them to see is they paid this high ticket to get the systems, and then they're also having to tack on an extra cost. Like that just doesn't really line up for me. So at the lower end, like, yeah, you're not risking so much or committing to so much up front. It's month to month, so I don't know, there's not really a risk to it. But in exchange, you are going to be paying things over time just to kind of help make up for the cost and stuff. But again, yeah, that's all long term. I'm really focused on the agent bill or the B2B consulting right now because it kind of is twofold. Everyone wants this agentic team for their own company. So it kind of, I get paid to do the builds for them, and I'm building this stuff out anyway. And it's a simple tweak and adjustment to plug it into whatever business that is. So it's two birds in one stone. I build it for businesses so that it can be ready for the closers when it's ready to launch.
Yeah. I mean, either way, I think it's going to change a lot of lives and have a big impact. And that's why it resonates very much with me because I know we've talked about it a good amount, but for me, my mission for what I'm trying to do is very much create an impact and change the way we handle leadership, culture, and execution within businesses, and doing that one rep, one team, and one business at a time. And that's why your story and what you're looking to create resonates very much so with me. And as things progress, hey, if you want to talk further and plan, if you want to partner on something, I'd love the opportunity to do so with you.
Absolutely.
I think things are going to do very, very well for you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to make as many connections as I can. Like I got lucky with, or maybe I didn't get lucky because she sent out a challenge. But Sabrina Romanoff, she's really big in AI, has amazing content. I mean, her whole goal is to show you that you don't need to do a course or a mentorship to learn AI. She's 100% right. So she vibe coded a game, and it's like if you can beat the boss of the game in under a minute, I'll meet with you for half an hour. And I thought that was stupid generous because she's huge. And I'm like, when I met with her, I had 100 followers, right? And I'm not that big today, but I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And it was a funny thing. I made a reel on it, but I met with her and she was very much about enabling professionals to scale, right? And to me, I'm just trying to meet with everybody in the space who has some kind of interest in AI and in sales, because I grew because of my connections and the people I knew and maintaining those relationships and keeping them strong. We met and Sabrina was really cool. I mean, she sold an AI business for 10 million and she doesn't live too far away up in the mountains in this beautiful mansion, and she's killing it. She as a person has incredible vibes, but one thing that she has built is it's called Blotato, and it's like a 100% or less, if you want, automated AI content. I know a lot of us are sick of the cheap AI content, but you can use this in a way that creates really high valuable AI stuff. And I'll be using it like it's an automation. I have hours blocked in my week to build my personal interest automations and AI agents. And this one's like I'm just doing the prompting, and then it'll push out content for me every Tuesday and Thursday. And then I have some fun story ideas for engagement, like on maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Wednesday, Friday, or something where it gives you, hey, test this crazy prompt with this custom GPT or something, and then show me your responses and just like see what kind of chaos we can create with GPT. Would be kind of fun. But it just help people get introduced to large language models in general, because a lot of people just don't know how to approach it. And it's just having a conversation. That's it. Just talk about what's on your mind, and the conversation will open up and blow your mind.
Yeah, truly. And I am curious, where do you think the future of AI and sales is going to be, say, over the next 5 to 10?
Yeah, 5 to 10. I do think closers will still be needed, but it'll be completely different than it is today. And so you see a lot of these AI businesses, myself included, what they're building will not be relevant in 2 years. A lot of what they're building won't be relevant in 6 months. I talked to some pretty high level guys, and you've all seen their ads. I won't call anybody out because they're building cool stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of what they do, like I can copy in a weekend because they built the framework. And a lot of businesses are building just one component of an AI tool, when in 2 years, like what I'm building in the Stride Stack, that'll be widely available. And maybe not just as a Stride Stack, but a massive company can come in and create this beautiful, amazing software for anyone to use. Where I'm trying to get ahead is to hyper niche on one spot that's so tiny that a giant company, making millions a year won't care about. But one guy who has a team of 2 people would love to make 300K or $1 million off of, right, on one little vertical. I mean, 300K is tiny, but to make money off of a hyper niche thing that they wouldn't pay attention to, that's where people are going to win. Sales and AI, the way it's going to transform is you're going to see one-man teams. And even the way voice agents are developing, they'll be so good at that point that a lot of companies will not need closers, like at all. For the higher touch, high ticket ones where you do need a little bit more detail and emotional engagement, I think you'll still see some of that. But for medium businesses that are just selling a hey, I need information product, I think those teams are out for the most part.
I think we've seen a huge change more so recently as all of these conversation agents, like you were saying, the AI voice agents have been coming into play. And I can only imagine how things are going to progress further, but I definitely agree with your point of the actual role of the closer. Yes, it's still going to be valuable, but not so much to the extent that it is today. And I'm already seeing kind of those things firsthand. Like one of our partners and someone that I work with directly, we work with a lot of HubSpot build outs and products, and they just released, HubSpot more particularly, released AI agents within their software that are kind of in the beta phase for the professional plans. And what we're testing is we've identified all of the drop off points within a sales pipeline where leads are most likely to fall off, or where, especially when either setters or closers don't have the time to check all of them all at the same time. So putting a AI conversation agent at the end of all of those drop off points that has autonomous conversations with the same principle of what you were kind of describing. If it's confident in its response, it will do it. Otherwise, it'll prompt the user to confirm. And the goal is to get an activity spike, which is then triggered in the system and then changes where that lead is in the sales process and either redelegates it back to the setting team, redelegates it back to the closing team, because we now know, okay, this lead has answered this text, this voicemail, whatever the case may be, this email from the automated agent, and is now prompted us to say, okay, there's an activity. Let's give them a call. Let's get them on another closing call where they've been reactivated. Let's take charge of this opportunity. So that's already happening. Like if I were to look at a traditional pipeline, I have no idea if we were to take systems off the table, most people don't have an idea of how many leads are clicking or who is clicking what, who's reading what emails, what are they clicking on, have they visited the website 3 times this week, little tiny things that really build up over time. And that's how you keep the hottest leads at the top of the pipeline. And it's just taking advantage of those tools as they come. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like in 5 years, the technology is going to be ready for you to jump in and not just be a sales guy, but a system, like a stack owner. Like you're going to own the whole pipeline for a company. So like one right now, I just let go 2 reps and took over everything on this one high ticket company that has like a minimum of a 12K to 35K offer. I'm getting 100% of those calls now that previously 2 reps were taking. And it's not even filling my calendar because I can't take full time, but this is what's going to happen more often is someone like me will come in and say, oh, your sales reps want salary and they're whining about engaging with leads. Like that's a bummer. Hey, I can come in and replace them. So you're paying 2 less salaries. You're getting 100% engagement with your leads. And I'm already coming in at a 68% close rate, where your guys are doing like 23% right now. Like, what are they going to pick? Right?
Exactly.
And you can even come in and say, hey, just to get things built, I need time on my calendar. Like, look, I'm $5,000 to start. So like I'm your systems builder. So 5K to get everything synced up and going. And then I can take calls full context right away day one. I'm like, wait, so you don't have a ramp up period? I'm like, no, part of my onboarding is I onboard myself. So I have an agent that trains me on everything and gets me ready to go right away. And they're like, dude, are you kidding me? And it's the easiest decision ever for them. And it was for these guys. I'm like, look, well, you guys need 15 different automations. I can plug those in right away and take all your closing calls. It's obvious. So businesses there's always lag. Like the technology is here and then businesses and the people who deploy the technology are a little behind. But in 5 years, I think I'm just a solo closer role. Unless you're at a giant tech company who's so locked into their old systems that they can't change, I think you're going to have to be a guy that can go in and just take over the full stack.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that, and maybe so much without the AI must necessarily, I'm not processing, okay, what can AI automatically do for me? I'm very processes and systems thinking and driven. That's how I really tackle businesses. And I think it's just kind of combining that all together. And that's where I found my own skill set within companies, because I can look and see where is the issue, identify it based on the data and what is going right, what is going wrong, adjust it. But also I can bring my own skill set to the table. So we're right there with each other with the mindset of, okay, we can come in and we can manage the system and do it better than who's already there.
Right. Yeah. And I even started building these tools. Like the hard truth is I started building these AI solutions based on my own shortcomings. Cause I could see, I'd have that question, like, why am I losing money? Like, why are people not jumping on the call? I need to make more. So I would diagnose my own processing with, dude, I'm missing leads. Like I'm not able to respond right away to some of these emails because I'm on a call, and my own shortcomings and just frustrations. Like I don't want to deal with a lot of this stuff. I want to be free. I want to have more money and more time to jump on calls. But these build outs came from my own shortcomings in the space is what I'm trying to say in short. And I'm owning that. And it's great because it's real. And I don't have any shame around it because every rep deals with that. And you can do so much more if you can remove these limitations of admin work. If you do it twice a day, it can be automated, right? Do you mind if I take a quick second to just take a quick bathroom break?
Yeah, of course. I'll pause it really quick.
Yeah, good.
All right. So Brandon, what would you say makes a good leader?
Yeah, that's a great question because you didn't say manager, you said leader, right? I think great leadership, you have to understand who you're leading at an individual level. Like a leader assumes that you're going somewhere and the people following you they've likely agreed to get to that destination with you. That's why they're on the journey, right? But a leader understands his people. And in my case, the best leaders are the ones who are aligned with my goals and who want what I want. It's like, hey, why did you follow this? Like, why did you jump on board? And then making that your obsession is your people. It's like if I'm getting you where you want to go, which is where I want to go, then we're all in line together. But trying to get someone into your frame of thinking isn't quite it. So understanding, like I try to have very intimate conversations with my people and respecting boundaries too. Like some people are like, look, this is a job and I want a paycheck. I'm like, I love that. Let's get you a paycheck. Good with me. But other people, they might have limiting beliefs about whether or not they're ready to close, or they may be frustrated or over something with a customer. Understanding your people is huge, because one thing a lot of managers will see, and we all hate it, is whining. You get someone who whines about the systems, the clients, the process. Whining needs to be looked at not as an evil thing or a bad thing, but as an objection to a pain that they don't quite understand yet. So when I get some whining, I go, hey, I love this. Like, do you mind if we take this offline? Like, I want to hear you out. Not as a, hey, shut up, like, stop whining. Although that's what we want to say. We jump in, and the real route is to think of this as a person on my team is suffering, and I need to go figure out what's there to see if we can navigate forward, or if the suffering's so great that they just need help leaving. Like, that's totally appropriate. So I always like to jump in and ask, hey, I noticed it seems like you're kind of having a hard time. Like, no criticism. I just want to check in on you. Are you doing all right? And I think I've told 3 setters now to leave, like, to pursue what they want to do. Not in a mean way, but they say, dude, this is kind of tough. There's these other offers. I'm like, well, tell me about these other offers. Yeah, it sounds great. Like, do you need some help? Like, angling it. They're like, oh, do you want me to leave? I'm like, no, I just want you to be happy. Like, if it's
Agreed.
here or there, let's just line you up to be happy. But the responsibility as a leader is to make sure you get to your destination. And I think you do that by enabling the people pulling the wagon with you to be energized and powerful as well.
I think that
Yeah.
speaks volumes to also you as a founder as well, and the kind of
Thanks,
culture
man.
that you'll instill as you build up your own companies, work with companies as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hope so.
Yeah. What's one thing you would change about the sales industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say just one. Like, if I were to put it under one umbrella, I think there's a massive dogma in the sales industry where it's some dumb trick that caught on 10 years ago, or some frame that you have to ask, you have to get a yes 7 times in a row. The dogma is a very big one. Like, we're judging and grading people on how often and how well they use systems that have been built by someone else. So if I could change any one thing about the sales industry, it would be this frame that we have to fit in, because it's just not human to force ourselves into a box. Like, when you talk to a client, if you have some trick or some system on how to engage with an objection or a concern, you're not engaging as a human, and it is frustrating. Like, your soul is going to be pissed about that. So that's what I would change. Removing yourself from tricks and little systems that, I love systems, but systems that are scripted and lock you into a certain conversation, and just understanding people. Like, having empathy. If I could add anything to the sales space, it would be empathy. Look at a client and they say, well, it's just too expensive. You see a lot of amazing gurus out here cover this stuff, but oh, it's too expensive. You go, well, what do you mean? Didn't you just say this was going to do everything you ever wanted? Like, a lot of sales reps go there, and that's so stupid, because just listen to the human, man. Say, well, what's there? Like, what's behind that? It is a lot of money, like, straight up. It is. And it's understandable you'd feel some stress around that. Can you tell me more about what's coming up? And then you can actually engage as a human being and be on their side and help them see to the end of it and go, look, I know you're uncomfortable, but you want to get this outcome, right? So I'm not going to take the comfort, or I'm not going to take the discomfort away, but we're going to embrace it together. So let's just make this thing easy to pay for, all right? Let's rock and roll. Anyway, it's maybe a longer-winded approach, but I would remove that dogma entirely that locks you in on rails to shitty frameworks.
I think that'll resonate with a lot of people at the end of the day. And I think my final question that I want to leave you with before we wrap up, if you were to start over tomorrow with no leads, no brand, and nothing, and you had 1 month to produce some revenue, what would you do?
Yeah, is this assuming I know everything I know today?
Correct.
This is an awesome question, because I just did this. I'm like in the process of this right now. So I officially am launching ads for my agency later this month. And I did this. I'm not in sales. I'm not offering anybody sales work, right? So with no leads, no brand, I mean, I started this with 0 followers and literally 1 month to produce revenue. I did this. So if I were to start over, I would go to the most successful people within my network, whether they were an uncle or someone I've worked with before, and I would go offer them what I'm trying to build completely free at an incredibly fast rate. I would deliver what I would want to give them insanely fast and with hyper focus for totally free. That way I get the feedback. If it's valuable to them, they're excited and want to refer me to others. And that's how my agency has compounded. I mean, in this, it's the first month. I mean, I've only made like 3 grand, but that's on one very small build. And I didn't even know how to price these out yet. And that was my first month, right? This next month's looking closer to, like, in that amount of time, we got 3 grand for the first kind of testing phase. It's going to jump to 20 grand likely next month, and then 30 and beyond if I can scale and if I can just keep up on the work.
When you
That's what I
scale.
would do when I scale. Yes, I would find the most successful people in my network and go offer them cool stuff for free. And you can't just spam them. I mean, you have to go understand if it's something they would even want. But a newsletter automation for sales is something that my buddy Dylan could get a lot of value out of because it could help him recommend hot topics for content. Totally free. I'm going to charge subscriptions for that. Like, that's something I can now say, dude, this is easily worth $50 a month, like, for your content. It's a weekly engagement letter. And then he's like, dude, I love this thing. It's helped me create content. I'm like, cool, let's make it bigger, right? So now we're doing even more. That's exactly what I would do.
Brandon Harris, I appreciate you being on for this episode. This has been epic. I think this will be a great start to many things, and I think it'll be great to reflect once you officially launch
Yes.
your initiative with imploring AI into the actual sales rep themselves and where that's going to go along with your own agency. I don't see any reason why you don't absolutely crush it over the next couple of months.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And there are some, even though the stack's not totally available yet, I am going to have an email waitlist. So updates on the Dealgate build, which is going to be first, and then updates on. So I've got an email list, I think, and then in the link in my bio too, I'll also have some just free guides for that any salesperson can get immediate value out of, like, today. And you don't need a paid membership for anything. I'm never going to build a course. It's just how to structure ChatGPT to give you some immediately amazing outcomes right away that I've actually used and use every day myself. So that'll be available too. And just follow along and we'll buckle up for the ride.
Awesome. I'll make sure in the show notes, I have every place that we can find you, your website, your Instagram, and so on and so forth, so people can stay in touch with you, and anybody that's a business owner looking to implement some AI, I'll make sure they go to you.
That'd be phenomenal. Yeah, it'll be a ride. We'll have fun.
Brandon Harris, it's been a pleasure, man. Our first episode of the Deal Room, and hopefully another one very, very soon.
I appreciate that, Adam. Yeah, this is fun. We'll stay in touch, man. Appreciate you.